session 9 from the book of Numbers. And we continue with Numbers 12. Suddenly, Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron and Miriam, "You three come out to the tent of appointment." So the three came out. So remember, this is after Miriam and Aaron complained to say that Moses is not the only prophet and they are also prophets and blah, blah, blah. So God is calling them. You three. He's telling them. It's almost like, you remember when you were a kid and you did something wrong and your father said, "You there, go and wait for me in the bathroom. Gaan wag vir my in die badkamer." So you go to the bathroom and you wait there. You wait for your father to come and then to give you a hiding. So for me, this is almost like Yahuwah's calling these three naughty children out because they are complaining and disputing amongst each other, and he's calling them out to come and meet with him at the tent of appointment. Continue with verse 5. And Yahuwah came down in the column of a cloud and stood in the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And this makes me think about a headmaster who calls children into his office, and as he speaks to them, they actually go forward. They stand up and they go to the front of the desk of the headmaster to receive their verdict. All right, so Yahuwah says, "Hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yahuwah, I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. But not so with my servant Moses. My servant Moses is trustworthy in all my house." So he's coming up for his servant amongst the people that is complaining about his servant. Remember that in the days when you are persecuted as well. And Yahweh continues, "I speak with him mouth to mouth and plainly. I don't speak to him in riddles or mysteries." And he sees the form of Yahuwah. Remember, this happened on the mountain. We've discussed this. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against Miriam and Aaron, and then he left. So basically what happened here is the headmaster or the father called in the naughty children. He told them exactly what's going on. And he asked them why were they so arrogant to speak against his servant. And his anger burned against them. And then he left them. But when he left them, he didn't leave them unpunished. And I think between Aaron and Miriam, Miriam was the instigator, because we don't read anything that happened to Aaron. But we read in the next verse, Numbers 12 verse 10. When the cloud turned away from the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous. She got leprosy. She became as white as snow. And Aaron turned towards Miriam and saw, "Oh, she's a leper." And Aaron turned to Moses and said, "Oh, my master, please do not hold against us the sin in which we have done foolishly and in which we have sinned. Please don't let your sister be as one that is dead when coming out of his mother's womb, with all his flesh consumed." So leprosy is a horrible disease. You look like you're dead because your flesh is rotting away. So Aaron is comparing Miriam now with someone that is as if dead, looking, like these horrible zombie movies. It's disgusting. But the flesh is rotting away. So for him it looks like a child that's born dead when the flesh is already consumed. And Moses cried out to Yahuwah, and he pleaded with Yahuwah, "Oh El, please heal her. Please, please heal her." This was the prayer of Moses. Even though his sister was speaking up against him, he still prayed for her. Again, remember this in the days of your persecution. There's a verse that says in the Bible, when somebody treats you badly, you answer them with a soft answer, and it will heap burning coals on his head. So Moses prayed for her. But although Yahuwah almost always answers Moses' prayers, every time he started punishing the people, every time he wanted to do something against the rebellion, Moses went upon his face in front of Yahuwah. And most of the times, Yahuwah answered Moses' prayer. But not this time. Yahuwah said to Moses, and now this is the thing that I need you to concentrate on now. Because what Miriam did, if we just look at the surface, she was only complaining a little bit. And she also just wanted to be a better prophet for Yahuwah, right? But from Yahuwah's point of view, it was almost as if Miriam shamed him because his decision was Moses. And Miriam was challenging God's decision, like a rebellious daughter will challenge her father. And in ancient Middle Eastern culture, if a daughter challenges her father spits in her face. It sounds horrible, I know. Don't judge this action, this horrible action of spitting in the face, but see the reasoning behind it and the arrogance and the rebellion that deserves such an action behind it. All right. So Moses prayed, Elohim, please save my sister. Heal my sister. But Yahuwah answered, if Miriam's father had spit in her face, would she not be ashamed for 7 days? So normally when a daughter was reprimanded or punished in this way, because she did something so bad that brought shame and unsubordination to her father would basically ban her by spitting in her face and banning her to go outside the camp for 7 days. You know, outside the camp, there where the lepers go, there where the unclean people have to go until they are cleaned again. So she were banned from the camp for 7 days. So Father Yahuwah says to Moses, if Miriam's father, if her earthly father had spit in her face, would she not be ashamed for 7 days? Therefore, let her now be shut out of the camp for 7 days. And after that, she can be readmitted. So Miriam was shut out of the camp for 7 days. Very, very significant and interesting. In the Targum is the Aramaic version of the Torah, right? In the Targum, the word for spitting is used to carry the meaning and the definition of correcting. Okay? So the father spitting in the face of the daughter is like the father correcting the daughter. The father punishing the daughter's arrogance and stupidity and rebellion, and is teaching her a lesson. He's correcting her. So the Targum actually reads this verse where it says, if her father had spit in her face, the Targum has that verse, if her father corrects her, would she not be ashamed for 7 days? The Jews who translated the Torah into Aramaic were not really changing the meaning, but actually recapturing the true meaning of spitting. Spitting in one's face grew to mean something very disgusting, but the underlying foundational lesson of spitting in your face is to mean, it means to be corrected. And of course that brings you shame, because now in front of the whole camp, you are proven to be wrong, and you are proven to be taught a lesson. The child would be given 7 days of isolation to consider the shame he or she brought upon their loving parent. Sort of like being grounded for 7 days, right? Come to the or go to the bathroom. I will come and give you your punishment. And then the father gives a punishment on the behind, And then the father normally would ground. You are grounded now for 7 days. Beautiful. This is exactly how Father Yahuwah reacted against Miriam. During those 7 days, the parent would still bring food and comfort the child. And after all the emotions have settled down, the father would sit and talk with the child about this offense. And there would be a time of repentance from the child's side and a time of correction from the father's side. And the relationship would be built up, isn't it? After the father gives the child a hiding, there's normally a discussion and a bit of communication after that. So hence, in the Targum, the Aramaic version of the Torah, the sages calls spitting in the face, they rather call it correction rather than spitting in the face. All right. So for a daughter of Yahuwah to be a little bit of jealousy, to have jealousy in her heart, and to be critical against the decision of leaders that God chooses, that is to shame the father. Because Moses was representing Father Yahuwah in the camp. So to reject Moses is to reject the father. So Yahuwah corrected Miriam and put them, both her and Aaron, in their place. And he reminded them that his relationship with Moses is much more different than his relationship with them. And also Moses was humble, always, even as the leader over 3 million people, even as the one that held the staff and the power in his hand at all times. He had power over Egypt. He had power over the Red Sea. He had power over the rock to bring water from. Yet none of that ever went to the head of Moses. He remained humble. And this was the lesson that Miriam had to learn. Moses did not defend himself. Moses didn't get angry. Moses didn't try to prove his own point. No, he kept quiet. But that was when Father Yahuwah stood up for Moses. Again, this is something we have to remember when we are persecuted. Father Yahuwah stood up for his servant. And Miriam's behavior wasn't acceptable. It brought shame over the household of God. Like a foolish girl would bring shame over her father's house when she asks stupid questions and she makes stupid comments like what Miriam did. So you remember what I said? Go wait for me in the bathroom. Gaan wag vir my in die badkamer. It's normally after a good hiding and a good talk from father to child that the child is given some time out. Take your time out and go and think about what you did. So this was Miriam's time out. To let us also take a time out. For us to learn from this lesson, we must sometimes take time out and investigate our arrogance, our pride, our quest for recognition, just like we learned from Miriam's lesson. Let us not shame our Father, so that he needs to reprimand us and punish us with a shameful judgment that's compared to having you get spit in your face. At the end of the day, it only brings shame upon us anyway. 1 Peter 5:6. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God. He will exalt you in due time. That's a lesson we learned from Moses. Humbled himself all the time. God exalted him. Miriam wanted to exalt herself. We must not be like Miriam. We must be like Moses. Matthew 23:12. Whoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, but he that humbles himself shall be exalted. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face, and rest of the religious world and uncle there in the Northern Cape somewhere, you can't stop this verse here. It's not just about praying, seeking face, humbling yourselves. It's also turn away from your wicked ways. Wicked ways can only be learned from Torah. When you, my people, humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. So we learn to be like Moses, not like Miriam. James 4:10, humble yourselves in the sight of Yahuwah, and he shall lift you up. How many times have we read that Moses fell on his face whenever there was rebellion against Yahuwah? And even when there was rebellion against him, against Moses himself. Korach, remember the rebellion of Korach? How many times the people said, why did you bring us up out of Egypt? Now with his own family rebelling against him? Criticizing him not only for marrying a Cushite woman, but criticizing him because he seems to be exalted above them. But he never stood up for himself. He never defended himself. He never tried to dominate anyone. He always sought the face of Yahuwah. Just like 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14 says, if you will humble yourself and seek my face, I will exalt you, I will forgive your sin, and I will heal your land. And for this Moses was rewarded. Rewarded with something no one else in the whole Bible ever experienced. Moses was rewarded with his mountaintop appointment with God when he saw the form of Yahuwah himself. That is the reward that we as the people of God, that will be like Moses and not like Miriam. That's the reward, that's the exaltation, that's the upliftment we will receive while we humble ourselves here on earth. And we don't stand up for ourselves against family and friends. We stand up for God. We always stand up for what is right, but we never stand up for ourselves. We leave that to God to stand up for us, because he is the one that will reward each one according to his works, whether it was good or bad. For those for who it was bad, whose works were bad, they will get spitten in the face. But for those whose works are good, they will be rewarded, and God himself will exalt them.